Anyway, let's move on to more randoms. We got 12 left, so we're going to do another 6 in this video. Next random is 10, Stella of the Theater. Know literally nothing about that. Let's try it out.
Well, I didn't hate that one, but also I definitely wasn't enjoying myself that much either. I got through about half an episode of Stella of the Theater, also known as World Die Star. This is a theater one, it looks like. Well, I know that. And it's totally average and unassuming. Like, it had one really nice cut of a really good Romeo and Juliet performance. But that cut didn't particularly move me, I guess. Like, the immediate comparison for this show would be something like, what's it called? Kageki Shoujo. Or if you want to go even more theatrical with it, you could do Revue Starlight. But I think Kageki Shoujo is a more appropriate comparison, since it's much more like well, they're both performance based, but I think, I don't know, I'm getting more of a Kageki Shoujo vibe from this one for some reason, even though it's structured in terms of like character designs. It is being structured more like an idol anime, and the number of characters that we're going to meet, I guess. Also, these character designs are super plain and average, like boilerplate. Here are a bunch of cute girls that we're going to sell models of character designs. And the same can be said for the character personalities so far. We got the Genki girl, who's not quite as good as everyone else, the cool-headed one, who's really good, and then the angry German one. Yeah, it's just kind of average. I don't like there's nothing like particularly wrong with any of like the animation or shot composition or anything like that, but it's not really all that inspired, I guess. I think that's why Kageki Shoujo makes for a better comparison, because Kageki Shoujo also isn't an amazing looking series, but it has a really solid sense of how to frame things to make them more impactful. And also the voice actors were way stronger in that series than this one. So, yeah, not really feeling this one. Also, I'm probably gonna, like, at the end of this video, we're gonna get to Oshi no Ko anyway, so that'll make for an even more obvious comparison of acting, I guess. So, I'm looking forward to that one at least.
Alright, Stella coming off the list. Let's see what number we roll next. It is 1. What is 1? KamiKatsu. Based on this, I'm going to assume it's some kind of light novel adaptation. No idea what, so let's find out.
So I had completely forgotten about this one until I saw the key visual on live chart when I was like, which one is this? And then I saw the blonde dude on it and I was like, oh, it's this one! And I got really excited because I knew I was in for some supremely horrible animation, and boy, I was not wrong. This is the one with like the really terrible monster that looks kind of like a bull ram thing. And I didn't get quite as far. I think it's episode 4. It's the tractor scene. I just looked up the tractor scene after I stopped watching this. I think I got like less than halfway through the first episode. Who knows? Uh, just to watch the tractor scene, I was like, oh man. But even outside of those scenes, this whole show looks fucking terrible. Like, there are points where it legit looks low res for some reason. The character designs are terrible. The world design is terrible. The color palette sucks ass. The framing is so, like, the first time the purple haired dude is on screen, it looks like something out of like a visual novel. Maybe that was on purpose, but it still looked like shit. It is hilariously bad. Aside from that, the story is pretty fucking terrible too. The main character is not fun to follow. Oh, I totally forgot. See, I keep forgetting to use the isekai bell because all of the isekai I've been watching recently have been so fucking terrible that I just forgot that they were isekai because they completely... Well, it's not that they give up on being isekai, it's just that I am distracted by so many other things about this show, aside from the fact that the first thing that happens after this dude gets isekai'd is that he wakes up to a girl jerking him off for some reason. I don't know why. They don't explain that. It's just a joke, and then she crushes his dick, and then the scene moves on. I don't fucking get it. How did this high schooler know how to make wine? I don't fucking know. Let's move on.
You know, it'd be pretty funny if that was the last isekai of the season, but there is at least one more on here that could fill that role, so we'll see. Anyways, we're down to 10 shows. Let's roll again. We get one again. Oh, The Dangers in My Heart. Okay, this is another rom-com. I'm told this first episode is weird. So we'll see how it goes.
Another really solid rom-com in the books. This one might actually be my favorite of the season. I'm probably forgetting one off the top of my head, but I just finished all of The Dangers in My Heart, Season 1. I say Season 1 because I'm recording this literally the day that Season 2 premieres. So, that was really fun in a very roundabout way because, man, those early episodes were really fucking cringe, but like cringe in like a good way. Cringe in like the sense of, oh no, that's me. Oh no, I don't like where this is going. There were definitely, with our main character Ishikawa, there were definitely a lot of very general and very specific things where I was like, oh, I did that. This is gonna... I am going to be screaming internally throughout this entire series, huh? Not quite the entire series, but man, those early episodes, they really hit you with the cringy high schooler, angst, I guess, of just this little shitfuck edgelord. Who, like, fantasizes about murdering his classmate, and then falls in love with her. Because, of course. you know, that actually, even that one is very specific to something for me. Not in my high school days, but like way back in like early grade school reminds me of something that I might have said. So yeah, I get it. This show, and it is a very realistic kind of cringe too. Like, there's all of the cringy stuff is stuff where I'm like, oh yeah, either I have done that or I could see someone I know having done that. But it still managed to be like funny. It never slipped totally into like, ooh, this is too uncomfortable right now territory. It never really slipped into that. Even with how fucking crass the other boys in this high school are. I'm pretty sure this takes place in high school. It has to be in high school, right? I'm going to assume it's in high school. But like all the other boys are so fucking crass, and I'm like, I don't get this a lot in other anime, where it's just teenage boys being full-on horny. Like in a lot of other anime, it's like, ooh, she's so hot, she's so beautiful. But the kids in this school are like, check out her tits. It's like, yeah, though that's the high school boys that I remember. That's what I remember about high school. So it's a little bit more in your face about it, while also still framing it as like, this is not how you're supposed to be talking about women, you little shits. So I appreciated the frankness of a lot of the dialogue in this. But even more so than that, I really appreciated like the sort of arc that our main character Ishikawa goes through of being like loner edgelord who just so happens to end up casually talking with Yamada and slowly coming out of his shell to where he reaches a point of like, oh, this is just a wholly self-sabotaging thing that I've been doing this entire time, huh? I really liked that turn in the final episode there. It really made his character feel a lot more complete. And also Yamada is just a really fun character for him to bounce off of. Like, as I think it was like probably the beginning of episode 2, I was like, oh, she's just kind of a dumbass. Like, not in like a, she's not academically smart sense, but in like a sense of like, oh, she's just missing a lot of social cues, but like different social cues than what Ishikawa is missing. So they kind of complement each other in that sort of way. So that was fun to see. And just the banter that they have throughout the series as they grow closer to each other is really fun. And has some really romantic moments in it. That a lot of that is due to the soundtrack, to be honest. The soundtrack is just this very ambient, like vibrating, almost all-encompassing kind of sound that just like sucks you in to this experience. And the fact that the like, normally when I talk about post-production in anime, it's usually to shit on it because of how overdone it is and like how it doesn't work because the base layer is so garbage. But in this one, the base level animation and like shot composition and all that is really solid across the board. Really it was like maybe towards the last few episodes where I started to notice like, that shot doesn't quite look as good, so it was getting a little shaky at the end. But overall, just really strong production. And then the post-production on top of that, like the coloring, the lighting, all of the like bells and whistles attached to bolster, to boost the already solid animation was just really fucking good. Like, just the way that light looks in this series, the way that people look in the light, the way that the colors change across different light sources, across different areas, and just even some of the more, like, a little more abstract lighting in certain sense, like episode 10, where it just goes all blue and it, like, really leans into this very moody Christmas Eve aesthetic. Just looked really fucking cool. And this is like, when it's not being cringe and it's like being wholesome, the wholesome moments really suck you in. And also, like, it's, Yamada is actually pretty adorable. Also, there are a lot of moments in this anime that are just really hot. Like, not in, like, outwardly fan servicey kind of way, like in your face kind of stuff, but in, like, this I like when anime, I don't like when anime is trying to be sexy, because it usually fails. I like when anime is trying to be sensual. I like when anime really leans into, like, the more, like, nuanced aspects of making characters look hot. And this series does that really well with Yamada. She's the main girl for a reason. Yeah, I really enjoyed just watching Yamada be a fucking goofball. And I like, she is very clearly into Ishikawa, but he doesn't notice, because, well, he notices, but he doesn't believe. That's the thing. That's another thing I like about this. He notices, but he doesn't believe it, because he can't fathom that someone as hot and as cool as Yamada would like him. So we're not quite at that stage yet. We're almost there. We're very close to being there, I think. I would be shocked if the next season they are not in they don't get into a relationship at some point. But I do like that the way that Yamada is constantly just trying to coax him into it. Come on, let's do this thing. I'm not gonna call it a date, but it's a date. We're gonna go on a date, honey. And I like the moments where she gets, like, little, like, pouty and be like, come on, asshole, pick up the hint. It's just really cute. This is a really cute series. If you can like, enjoy the cringe. This series reminds me of that phrase, do not kill the part of you that is what's the phrase? Do not kill the part of you that is cringe, kill the part that cringes. This series has a little bit of that vibe to it. Kinda, but because you're also kind of supposed to cringe in certain moments. Like, there were definitely some moments where I thought it was maybe the wrong kind of cringe. Like, for lack of a better term, there is a chubby chaser in this anime, and he has no filter. But the girl he's going after also clearly likes him back, so good for them, I guess. But yeah, I really enjoyed this series. I remember when this series was first being talked about, like, it was being derided for being cringe. And looking at this first episode now, like, even as the first episode was ending, I was like, oh, I think people kind of missed the point. Like, yeah, it's supposed to be, you're supposed to cringe at this. but you're supposed to cringe in a way you're like, oh, I get it. Oh, this is uncomfortable. But I love the way that this show, it does gradually become less cringe and more explicitly rom-com-y near the end. So I really liked that. And if I recall correctly, this show jumped like huge leaps and bounds on Mal as the season went on, where people finally started to get the point. So I'm happy this anime has such a pretty sizable audience from what I've seen. A lot of people really like this show. And I'm definitely excited to get to the second season in 6 months, probably. Who knows?
Alright, the dangers in my heart is complete. We're gonna put it right in here between G-Witch and the Megumin spin-off in the number 13 spot for now, with a light 8. Really good, I guess this wasn't my favorite rom-com of the season because I forgot I watched Yamada-kun so early on, but it's definitely up there. Is good stuff. Now, let's do another random show. What are we gonna roll next? It is 3. Insomniacs After School. Okay, this is like probably the last one on this list that I think has a decent shot of me finishing. But I only know one other person who watched it, so we'll see.
So I was watching this show just like normal, pretty uneventful. I wasn't super connecting with it, and then I got about like a quarter into the episode, and I was like, something doesn't feel right. And I realized that I had somehow played the 4th episode instead of the 1st episode. And I got 6 whole minutes into the episode before I realized that that's what happened. I don't know what to make of that. Maybe I'm tired just like these characters are? Or maybe that says something about the show. I don't know what that says about the show. But anyway, then I went back and watched it proper, and I got through the 1st episode and realized that this show is not for me. There's nothing particularly wrong with it. This is another one where I'm like, this is a fine show that is just not clicking with me. Actually, there are some things that I think are potentially wrong with it. This is not like a skip and loafer thing where I can't really find any fault with anything. For one thing, the show is shooting well outside its realm of, how do I describe it? Well outside its weight class in terms of trying to look good. Not well outside, but like there are certain moments where it's like it's not quite there. Something is amiss. Either the character designs are too stilted, or the shot looked kind of weird. The thing that most stood out to me is like there's a lot of nighttime scenes in this show, and a lot of the times the characters are colored like they would be colored in the daytime. Like there's not, like it really sticks out sometimes. It looks like these characters are being lit by daytime lighting instead of nighttime lighting. Not all of the time, so it's not a stylistic choice. It's just some shots here and there in the nighttime scene when there is no super visible light source. They're just lit like they're lit in the daytime, and it's really jarring to look at. Also, this show made me wonder, like, why don't they just take sleeping pills? Like, if they both have insomnia that is physically incapacitating them, that should be more than enough leeway for them to be prescribed sleeping pills, right? I don't know what the I skimmed what the laws for sleeping pills in Japan are, and it looks like they have to be prescription only. But I see no reason why these two wouldn't be able to get prescriptions for sleeping pills. And it's never brought up in the episode. Why don't they just get sleeping pills? I don't get it. That seems dumb. Take advantage of the powers of modern medicine, you dumb teenagers. So there was one other thing about this show that kind of bothered me, that it's not super bad, but the main girl is like textbook Manic Pixie Dream Girl. Which, you know what? I'm not one to throw stones with that. Technically, my favorite anime is still Your Lie in April. I haven't seen it in like 5 years, but I haven't moved it from its spot. So, I'm not one to throw stones at Manic Pixie Dream Girls. But I'm also very well aware that if your specific Manic Pixie Dream Girl preferences aren't met, then said Manic Pixie Dream Girl can become very grating very fast. I don't dislike the girl whose name I don't remember, but I'm very much aware that I am being coaxed into liking her because of the trope and not because there's anything particularly interesting about her. And she's really hot. Also that. I don't know, this show's just not clicking with me. I could not see myself watching the whole season of it. If this was like a 50-minute OVA, I could chow down on this. It would also probably help with the production. But, yeah, I'm just not digging it.
Alright, Insomniacs After School is off the list. Gonna do a couple more randoms before we jump down to our end caps. So let's see what's next. 3 again. My Home Hero. I have no clue what this is. I guess we're about to find out.
You know, it's not particularly often that I'm baffled an anime even exists, but I don't know who this is for. Because I don't think the people who like Taken movies have a lot of overlap with anime. It's like, I guess congratulations on having a premise that's not super common in anime, I guess. Dad wants to protect his daughter from Yakuza. But also, this show looks like total garbage. There's no attempt in any way to look interesting, aside from the fact that it has the color palette of an anime that immediately signals that I should drop it immediately. Because I've mentioned this in the past, but it's been a while since I've actually seen one. There's a very particular color palette for anime where I know it's going to get edgy. And we haven't gotten to the edgy point yet. But the other thing about that color palette is it's always with anime that look really fucking dog shit. And we definitely have gotten to that point. Also, the main character is super fucking obnoxious. Just shouting. Like, in very weird moments. I don't like him. But I've run out of things to say about this show. It's a big pile of poop.
Alright, My Home Hero is off the list. We're gonna do one more random show before we jump to our end caps, and it's gonna be 4. Too Cute Crisis. Another one that I have not heard anything about. So let's go ahead and find out.
So this show looked like absolute fucking ass right out of the gate, and it's just like low tier, super mediocre character designs, animation, etc. But the reason that I watched more than 30 seconds was because one of the lines of dialogue, it's like a bunch of aliens set to invade or destroy Earth, and one of the aliens is like, hold on, we have to investigate a little bit. Every place has their own unique cultures and so on and so forth. And at that point, I was like, is this going to be another Aliens Find Anime Culture anime? Because I'm about to fucking lose it. But no, it went in a slightly different direction. And instead of becoming obsessed with anime culture, the alien becomes obsessed with cats. Which, I guess, based on the title, that makes sense. It's not funny or cute, actually. It's not cute because the animation sucks ass. There is absolutely no reason to watch this show unless you really, 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 really like cats, I guess. Moving on.
Alright, Too Cute Crisis off the list. So now it's time to go down to our end shows over here, and we're going to do Oshi no Ko. Alright, been super hyped for the anime adaptation of this one. I'm like 4 volumes into the manga, I think. So let's give it a go.
Yep, as expected, that was really damn good. Just finished up all of Oshi no Ko, the latest big Dogakobo production, which that alone made me super hyped for it, outside of me really liking the manga. But now that I see it, this is not a typical Dogakobo production in terms of like the specifics of what it looks like. If you're unfamiliar, Dogakobo is mostly known as like a comedy slice of life studio, at least what I know them for. Stuff like Engaged to the Unidentified and Sansha Sanyo. These very oh, and New Game. New Game is probably the big one more recently. Oh god, that was 8 years ago. Fuck. But they're this very bubbly. They're known for like their cute girls doing cute things shows, and they have very expressive, like very fluid and bubbly, bouncy character animation. Like that's one of their like hallmarks. In fact, the director of this one of Oshi no Ko is the director of Asteroid in Love, which definitely an underrated Kirara anime. Very fun. And the directing for this show is not like that at all. Not in any way. It is completely different. If anything, this is much more akin to an anime from like the 80s almost. Like there is not a lot of focus outside of a few select scenes. There is not a lot of focus on like character sakuga. Not a lot of focus on these big like explosive animation scenes. It's much more focused on, again, like more like classic anime of making each individual shot look really good and really impacting, whether it's through the extremely detailed character designs, the character artwork. All of the characters in this are fucking gorgeous beyond belief. These are some incredible adaptations of Akasaka's original designs. If you didn't know, by the way, the author of Oshi no Ko is the same as the author of Kaguya-sama. Actually, I shouldn't say it's Akasaka's designs because he didn't illustrate Oshi no Ko. I forgot who the illustrator is for that. I'll have to check that later because he doesn't draw anymore. He just writes. But anyway, incredible adaptation of the manga's character designs. Absolutely stunning color work, just gorgeous lighting, really strong shot composition. Like, the only time where I thought something didn't look quite as good as it could, I think it was like episode 4 during like one of the scenes when they first get to high school. That was the only time where I saw something that didn't look quite as good. But outside of that, like, really strong. Everything's really strong overall, and it's not like it's completely missing animation either. Like, there's some really, really ambitious tracking shots, the way that the camera moves. The actual idol performances were really good. Actually, I will say another thing. There was one other part where I didn't think it looked quite as good. Honestly, the pre-reincarnation stuff in the first episode, I was a little disappointed in. Like, that opening prologue bit before they get reincarnated as Ai's kids, I was not a huge fan of it. It seemed a little I didn't dislike it. Was underwhelming until we got to the post rebirth stuff. But outside of that, just really fucking good stuff overall. And when they actually do have like big idol performances, they look spectacular. Actually, that's one of my, another brief tangent, one of my probably my overall biggest gripe with the show is that the songs aren't super interesting. There's only like 3 or 4 of them, so I understand that that's not like the main focus of it, but like, it sounds like generic J-pop idol stuff, especially like what is it, Sign B or whatever, like the main song that B Komachi does. So I was hoping for something a little more, I guess, intricate there, something a little more daring with the art, with the soundtrack, I should say. But I guess it does fit the theme of the show that they are not trying to be explosively unique. They are trying to be popular. They are trying to be idols. But speaking of that, this is yeah, I've pretty much read the manga up to where the anime cuts off. So that was an interesting. So that's another interesting little bit of symmetry. I've been reading a lot more manga lately, I guess, is what I should be saying. Is so it's fun to see, like, when my favorite manga get adapted really well, it's definitely a delight. And this is definitely a really strong adaptation of the original manga. It really captures like the nuances of the characters, really captures like the way that the manga portrays the industry. I do still kind of agree that they could be there. It feels like they are a little bit restrained with how they are portraying the entertainment industry, because there are a lot of points where it's like, it feels like people would be a little meaner about this, like the actual staff working on it. But I think that's also balanced out by the fact that they basically make the internet a character, and oh boy, if the internet is not fucking brutal to entertainers. It's something about them that I think I've already talked about with the manga, but it's also very true with the anime. The specific way that posts are worded like tweets and like forum comments and all that. I think there's like fucking, at least in the anime, it looked like fucking 4chan almost, or at least 2chan would be the more accurate thing to say that it looks like, I guess. But anyway, the way that posts are worded feels so very internet in like the worst possible way. Like they are just so, like, I read some of those comments, I'm like, oh my god, I've seen 10,000 comments like that before, and they all suck ass every time you read them. It is so incredibly accurate in terms of how it portrays the internet. The way that the internet just comes on strong right away, but then can just as quickly either recede entirely or just make a complete 180. That's something that Akasaka's always been good at, whether it's in this or in Kaguya-sama, is just capturing social ideas realistically. And that's definitely one of the things that carries this show through. The way that ideas about social interaction are approached is definitely one of the strong points of this show, alongside its really incredible cast of characters. I think the anime actually makes Ai a little bit more interesting than the manga does. Maybe it's just because I finally like get to hear her. By the way, Rie Takahashi, awesome choice. Or maybe it's just because I haven't read the first volume of the manga in a while. I think it's been a year at this point. I don't think it's quite been a year, but it's been a hot minute since I read the first volume. So whenever it came out in the US, that's when I read it. But just the way that she captures this idea of how she approaches her job, with the idea of like not understanding like love, like either love from fans, love from the people who support her, love that she wants to express. And yeah, just really just thought that was really well handled. But of course, much like the fandom, I believe that the true star of this series is definitely Kana. Kana is best girl. What can I say? The way that they portray her immense feelings of inadequacy, despite the fact that she has actually achieved something. It's not like huge success, but she's still achieved like very small bits of success here and there. But the fact that she just feels like she's constantly letting everyone down by not being as successful, it really hits, especially in these last few episodes where it's basically her arc of basically kind of turning that self-deprecating attitude around and being like, I will be successful. Fuck all of you. I'm going to be the Kana Arima. Absolutely love her. Love all the supporting cast around her. I'm treating her like the main character, even though she's technically not. It's technically Aqua and Ruby. Aqua is still fucking phenomenal as well. Just the way that he has become so hyper obsessed with his goal of finding Ai's killer, and just the lengths that he goes to get that done. I am very interested in how this is going to eventually crash and burn around him, because he's already started manipulating people to his own whims. So when people eventually figure out that that's what he's doing, it's definitely going to come back to bite him in a bad way, and I'm very interested to see when that happens. I might actually, based on the release of the manga, I might actually, and depending on when the next season of the anime comes out, which supposedly is this year, I might end up seeing more of the anime than I have read of the manga by the time it comes out, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, just really love all the characters in this. And I just realized this now, like, Kana and Akane kind of parallel each other in interesting ways. They're both terrified of letting their people down with their performances, but their reactions to that fear are very different. Kana just kind of takes it in stride, but not really, and just sort of like brushes it off as with self-deprecating humor, while Akane gets uber fucking serious about it and becomes absolutely terrified of letting people down. So, nice little bit of narrative symmetry there. Speaking of Akane, holy shit, episode 6 was fucking phenomenal. Easily one of the best episodes of this spring season that I've been going through. Might be the best episode, now that I think about it. Just so incredibly impacting with its lighting and the way shots are framed, the absolute desolateness of Akane's like inner thoughts, and also just the overbearing weight of internet criticism was so incredibly well done. Fucking loved episode 6. It's a banger. Speaking of episodes, yeah, also, for as much as I didn't like the opening to episode 1, everything after that was fucking phenomenal too. Just also one of the best episodes of the year, because that last bit of like leading up to and including Ai's death was just so fantastic and heartbreaking, and just so much emotional damage. When I first heard that this was getting like an hour-and-a-half long premiere, I'm like, what the fuck does this need an hour-and-a-half long premiere for? And then I read the first volume of the manga, and I'm like, oh, I get it now. You need to have all of this at once, kinda. So, that job well done on that. I'm not sure why Freerun is getting a 2-hour premiere, but we'll get to that one in about 6 months, probably. I actually wanted, just as a side project, I want to do a video on all of the like double length, triple length anime episodes of TV anime. I want to like compile a video of all the instances of that. Like, the first one that I can recall is Fate Zero, but I am positive that something else has existed before that. So, and they seem to be getting more and more common. Like, I think Sasaki and Peeps just had a double-length episode that premiered either today or yesterday. So, it's an interesting concept. Sometimes it's done well, like with Oshi no Ko, and sometimes it sucks shit, like with, what's a good, probably Rewrite is a good example of that. Like, that didn't need a double-length first episode. Nobody liked that. Everyone disliked that. Do I have anything else to say about Oshi no Ko? I guess the acting is fucking incredible across the board. Really strong stuff. I was questioning whether Megumi Han was a good fit for Kana in certain instances, but when she really pulled it out, man, it was some fucking incredible performances that she gave. I feel like I should know Megumi Han for something other than Gon from Hunter x Hunter, because she is a really popular voice actress. But that's just what I know her as. So whenever I see her actually play a girl, I'm like, oh, right. Yes, this just I guess my final words on this is, like, for the past probably 30 entries or so, like, even with the good shows, like, I guess ever since G-Witch, however long ago that one was, that was the last time where I actually just sat down and was, like, completely engrossed in what was happening. And my critic brain was not on, and not because I intentionally turned it off, but because the show was so good that it just turned it off by itself, and I just got sucked into what was happening on screen. And Oshi no Ko is the first show in a hot minute for that to happen to me. So big props to that. Definitely one of my favorites of the spring season. But I guess to be more specific about that, let's go ahead and put it on the list.
Alright, Oshi no Ko is complete. We're going to go fairly high up on the list for this one and put it in the number 3 spot for now with a strong 8, just outside of the 9 territory. Really damn good, and so far my favorite show of the spring season.